Good afternoon, this is Mark at the Expert Corner Group, and what we're doing is trying to sharpen this practice knife. What I did was I clamped it up and I set up the angles at 18 degrees on either side without any forethought or plan of what edge was applied to this knife from the factory. So I am removing whatever steel I need to remove to apex this edge without consideration of where we started. So I have already apexed the edge that I can see that looking here, I can see that my scratch pattern, although it's not a pretty scratch pattern, as rough as it is, my scratch pattern goes up and off the edge and down to the shoulder along the full length of the knife on the right side, my better side. Now I'm working on my left side, my less dominant side, to get it to catch up. Until both sides done separately, alternatingly, however you want to do it, but until both sides, that full bevel flops over and you feel it over here, and hopefully you are able to see it with a scope or a lighted loop or something. Then you come to the other side and do this same thing on the other side. Again, you can do a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there, and sneak up on it. Or you can do it all on one side, then all on the other side. But if you do all on one side first, you have to make sure the second side will bite you. It might seem like it happens quicker, and it doesn't. It's a false burr that you get to start with. It's not a true formation of the bevel, the full bevel in the burr. So you do need to make sure that you are working both sides equally amounts to make the bevel height the same on the left side and the right side, and that your scratch pattern goes from the shoulder all the way up and off the knife edge, from the heel to the tip. And I'm scrubbing back and forth because I haven't apexed this edge. And nothing is going to matter until the edge is apexed. And I'm feeling steel over here, definitely up here at the tip where I know that it is apexed, but still not. Still not reaching there yet. It's got it here. As I go forward, there's still that little shiny edge. Whereas when you look back here, it's gone. You can see that the scratches are going all the way clean off the apex. That's what we're looking for along the whole knife on both sides. So I will continue to work both sides. You can see here where it's not worked. And I will work both sides back and forth to balance it, and then balance the height of here is to here, here is to here, here is to there with my scrubbing stroke on both sides. And the burr may be flopping as I work one side and the other. But if I don't get that bevel fixed that first time, set, as Tom Morgan said, he got his bevel set at 100 grit, just what we're doing. That's what I'm trying to do. I did all my work on my dominant right side faster than my left side. Now I'm catching up. Once I get it so that I can look here and see that the scratch pattern is the full height of the bevel, apex to shoulder on both sides of the knife, then I will do my edge leading strokes, alternating. I don't do an edge leading stroke on one side. Maybe once in a while if I'm just trying to finish up a scratch that looks a little crooked, but for the most part, these are always, for me, I always use left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And it's always a walking forward, walking back, that this is backing up that, and this is backing up that. And that edge leading, I will do the whole edge until the scratch pattern looks as straight and even as I want it to be. As you see here, that looks pretty nice with just, and that's on the back side. So I have apexed it because that is edge leading strokes on the back side. Now it doesn't come all the way down because I just started. As I work more at it, then my edge leading, alternating will go from the apex to the shoulder and be continuous. And the direction of the angle is set by my direction with the down and on edge leading. And I do the alternating strokes to abrade the burr down and off the shoulder on both sides. Sharpening strokes, scrubbing, edge leading, edge trailing. Edge trailing, for me, I save my edge trailing for when I'm using lapping films or when I'm stropping. I seldom use edge trailing. Although, just like I finish my knives, alternating down and on edge leading strokes, you could choose to do up and off, overlapping, alternating side edge trailing strokes. And as you see, I'm working and overlapping. And you could do that with your diamond stones. I choose not to because I feel that that gives a false sharp edge. Not false, it is what it is, because it will legitimately test sharper because we are elongating this steel on both sides of the knife and keeping it keen at the same angle that I'm coming against it with an edge leading down and on. It's the same angle as the edge trailing up and off, but the edge trailing is pushing steel, and it can elongate that into what's called a wire edge. And there are some people that work with that very well and are able to sharpen that wire edge very sharply so that their knives test extremely sharp. I would rather have that same angle applied in an edge leading manner with less of that elongated steel. I think that it's a more robust edge and it's a truer representation of what you're going to have for the longevity of the knife edge. So that's why I prefer to use the edge leading. Now the edge trailing is for lapping what you do, because the vinyl lapping film is always used edge trailing with the edge so it's not to slash the vinyl. Some people do use lapping film in a horizontal manner, and it does work well, but it's hard to use it and have that light touch and avoid slashing working right on that knife edge. Stropping is the same up and off, and it's done for me in overlapping, working forward. I strop in such a way with the edge trailing stroke, the stropping stroke or the lapping stroke or the edge trailing stroke. I take the top stops off and I start low and go all the way off, and I alternate with my strops. I'm not going to put strops on here now. I got too much to clean up. But that would be the stropping stroke. I do never try to strop a knife the full length unless it is a knife like this that's pretty straight. Any kind of knife that has a drop to the point, then I come back and strop it separate, because you can't go up with your strops up and off and follow an edge down. If this is higher than that, you can't start here and then lower when you're working up and away. It's just physically impossible. Now you can come here to the tip and get underneath it and come off, but you can't start here and as you're going come back down to get underneath it. It just doesn't work. So the stropping strokes, I work in my edge trailing, overlapping in sections. And the pressures for all those different strokes are what it takes. I don't know how else to say it other than it's a learned thing. The pressure for the stropping is a learned pressure. The pressure for the lapping, even though it is that edge trailing, it's a different pressure than the pressure for stropping. It's an individualized learned skill. The pressure for the diamonds is different for the 100 grit than it is for the 3000 grit. It's a learned thing. The strokes are the same. I use those same strokes. Scrubbing stroke to start with. 100 grit. Set my bevel. Get it so that I can see that there's no ink left on both sides with scrubbing. Then I look side to side and look to see if my height looks nice, pleasing to me, that it is the same side to side. When that is all done with my scrubbing, then I start with my down and on edge leading overlapping strokes. That right there with the 100 grit is a sharp knife. It will get sharper if I do what I'm doing longer. After I do whatever I do to get it to that sharpness that I want for this grit, then I turn around and do the same thing again. Check the angle, start with the 200 grit, and I start with scrubbing. And I scrub one side and scrub the other. It's quick now because the bevel was set. We're refining it at that same angle, and smoothing the scratch pattern with the finer diamonds now on the same angle. So it should match right up, bevel to shoulder, apex to shoulder, apex to shoulder. Should match right up with your scrubbing. Dot, dot, dot. You're onto your edge leading, alternating side. Get that scratch pattern how you want it, the sharpness that you want. Go on to the next grit. Check the angle. Start with the scrubbing. That's how I choose to do it. Because I want to refine that bevel with that stone to smooth it, to polish it. Then I'm putting the character back to it in a direction of my choice with the alternating side edge leading strokes. Finish with that one, go to the next grit, the same thing. All the way through. Now you can, just the same, fix the 100 grit. Get it so that your bevel, have a burr on both sides. You're flopping back and forth. You know that your bevel is complete from your shoulder to your apex on both sides. The height is how you want it. The sharpness feels good. Here as compared to there, everything looks good. You move on to your next one. Next finer grit, the same thing. Stone after stone after stone after stone, all the way to the end to where I wipe it clean and do it edge trailing for stropping. And stropping is a whole different animal with angled situations that we'll discuss later. Simple. Same thing. Repetition. You can, I lost my track, you can scrub set your first stone. 100 grit if that's what you choose to work with. It doesn't necessarily have to start with 100 grit. You could start with something finer if finer was appropriate for the steel. You start with your first, set it on both sides, and you can go right to your alternating and then skip the scrubbing. That's Mark's way of doing it. You don't have to do it that way. I'm doing it for a reason, I believe. In my mind, I think that there's a reason to do it. I want that refinement. It's not necessary to have that refinement as long as that edge is keen. And you can do the alternating side edge leading stroke on each of your sequential finer grits in your regimen, like Tom Morgan does, all the way through to his 3,000 grit diamond stones. And then I would at least chase that with a two-step strop. That's just my preference. But that's how I understand that he does it. And that works fine. If you spent the time at the beginning to do the scrubbing to get that bevel set from the shoulder to the apex on both sides so that it comes together. If you don't get that apex, that flop over on both sides, you don't know whether your edge, whether you've apexed the edge. The scope helps. The feeling with your finger, you can get fooled. As you work your way closer and closer to the edge, more and more steel balls up and becomes sharp and feels, it feels like it's the right thing, but it's not quite the right thing. When it is the right thing, you will know it. And then when you come at it with your alternating edge leading, then you will have a sharp edge. And you can continue with alternating side edge leading strokes with each sequential grit, finer, finer, finer that you choose to go, doing it that same way without anything else, and get a fantastic wicked edge sharpened knife. If, I'm beating it to death, you drew that burr on both sides at the beginning. That is key. That is key. It is key that we learn while breaking in the stones and practicing on your beater knives. It is key that we learn to recognize true burr formation. True burr formation on both sides, how it comes together, and you get that apex. When your stones are finally broken in, then you're seeing what you're getting. 100 grit, you'll have a sharp edge. 600 grit will be a really sharp edge. But 100 grit is, you'll notice right away. And then 200, 300, 200, 400, 600, it only takes minutes. I don't have my stop set. It doesn't take but minutes. And I walk it back and forth until I feel the edge that I want to feel on both sides, and then go to the next stone. How precise you want to get with the checking of your angle on the next stone, that's up to you. With a diamond stone that flips side for side and they're pretty much the same thickness, even though the finer may be a little thinner, it doesn't really matter. You don't necessarily have to check the angle. But when you start working with whetstones that may vary with every stone, then it's probably a good idea to work with a cube or something that will allow you to set your stones parallel to each other, like the variable thickness stone adapter. I think that's what it's called, variable thickness stone adapter. That lets you set your stones parallel. It's a little awkward to work with. It's easier for me to work with a cube. I'm going to stop here. I think I talked this to death. Thanks.